A waiter takes your order without writing a single word down. 6 dishes, 3 drinks. The steak, medium rare. The pasta with no garlic. 1 coffee at the very end, not with the meal. He nods, walks away, and an hour later, every plate lands in front of the right person in the right order. Then you pay. You watch him turn to the next table. And here is the strange part. If you chased him down 10 minutes later and asked him to repeat your order, he probably couldn't. The same memory that held everything perfectly would be gone, wiped clean. How can a mind remember something flawlessly one moment and lose it completely the next? You'd think the answer is effort, that he simply stopped bothering to remember once the bill was paid. It isn't. Something stranger is going on, and it isn't just happening in a waiter's head. It is running inside yours right now, quietly, on tasks you haven't finished yet. To see it, we have to go back to a café in Vienna, almost 100 years ago. A young psychologist named Zeigarnik was sitting with her mentor, watching the waiters work. One of them rattled off a long, complicated order for a big table, entirely from memory. No notebook, nothing written down. They were impressed. So, a little while later, after that table had paid and left, they called the same waiter back and asked him to recall what those people had ordered. He looked at them, confused. He had no idea. The order that had lived so vividly in his mind just minutes before had simply evaporated. That moment stuck with Zeigarnik. Why would a memory survive perfectly while a task was open and then vanish the instant it was closed? So she did what scientists do. She took the question into the lab. She gave people a series of small tasks, simple things. Solve a little puzzle, build something out of clay, string beads, do some arithmetic. 20-some tasks, one after another. But she added a twist. For half the tasks, she let people finish. For the other half, she interrupted them partway through. Pulled the puzzle away, moved them on before they were done. Then, later, with no warning, she asked them a single question. Which tasks do you remember? Take a guess. The ones they completed and felt good about? Or the ones they were yanked away from? The answer was the unfinished ones, by a wide margin. In her results, people recalled the interrupted tasks far more often than the ones they had completed, by some accounts roughly twice as well. The work she never let them finish was the work that wouldn't leave their heads. She published this in 1927, and the pattern took her name, the Zeigarnik effect. The mind clings to what is unfinished and quietly releases what is done. Now, here's the part most people get wrong. They hear this and think it's a story about memory, a trick for remembering things better. It isn't. It's a story about tension. Think about what your brain is actually doing when you start a task. You're not just storing facts. You're opening something, a loop, a little circuit that says, "This is not done yet, stay on it." And that loop doesn't politely wait in line. It hums. It pulls at your attention. It keeps a thin thread of you tied to the unfinished thing, even while you walk away and try to think about something else. Finishing the task is what cuts the thread. So the waiter didn't have a better memory. He had an open loop. The order wasn't a fact he was storing. It was a job he was holding. And the moment you paid, his brain did the most natural thing in the world. It closed the loop and let go. Because to him, that order was now done, and a mind that held on to every finished order would drown by lunchtime. His forgetting wasn't a failure. It was the system working perfectly. And once you see tension as the engine, the whole thing flips. Because that same tension doesn't just help you remember a puzzle in a lab. It can grab you and not let go. One of Zeigarnik's colleagues, Maria Ovsiankina, noticed something even stranger. When she interrupted people mid-task and then left them alone, many of them went back to finish it on their own, even when no one had asked them to, even when there was no reward for doing it. The unfinished task didn't just stay in their minds, it actively tugged at their hands. The pull to close an open loop can be strong enough to make you act, all by itself. Have you ever felt that? The small, nagging itch of something left half done? An email you started and didn't send. A conversation that ended without an ending. A song that gets cut off one note before it resolves, and your whole body leans forward, waiting for a note that never comes. That lean is the Zeigarnik effect. That itch is an open loop, refusing to let you rest. And here's the next turn of the staircase. Other people have learned to open these loops inside your head on purpose. Think about the last show you binged. The episode didn't end. It stopped. Mid-crisis, mid-secret, a door opening on something you couldn't see. That's not lazy writing. That's a loop, deliberately left open, so the tension does the work of pulling you into the next episode before you've decided to watch it. The cliffhanger is the Zeigarnik effect, weaponized. The headline you couldn't not click. The story that promised the answer and made you wait. You won't believe what happened next is the same trick. They open a loop in your mind, and your mind will pay almost any price to close it. So far, this sounds clever, a neat quirk. But now comes the part where it stops being about waiters and TV shows and starts being about you. Because the loops that hurt most are the ones nobody opened on purpose, the ones you opened yourself and never closed. Lie in bed tonight and notice what shows up. It's rarely the things you finished today. It's the unanswered message, the task you push to tomorrow, the half-started plan, the thing you keep meaning to deal with. They circle back again and again, not because they're urgent, but because they're open. Your mind is doing exactly what it did with that clay puzzle 100 years ago, refusing to release what isn't done. This is why a long to-do list can feel heavier than the actual work on it. Every unfinished item is a thread, still tied to you, still pulling. You're not carrying the tasks, you're carrying all the open loops at once. But the science offers a quiet way out, and it's gentler than you'd think. Two researchers, Roy Baumeister and E.J. Masicampo, asked whether you actually have to finish a task to free your mind from it. So they gave people unfinished goals to carry around, the kind that intrude and distract. Then they let some of those people do one small thing. Not finish the task, just make a plan for it. Write down when, where, and how they'd get it done. That's all. And the intrusive pull faded. The people who made a specific plan were freed from the nagging almost as much as if they'd completed the task itself. The loop, it turns out, doesn't only close when the job is done. It can also quiet down when your brain trusts that the job has somewhere to go. That's the small, usable thing to take from all of this. When something won't leave your head, you don't always have to do it right now. Sometimes you just have to give it a home, a specific next step, on paper, out of your mind, and somewhere it can wait. You're not finishing the loop. You're telling your brain it's safe to set it down. Now, to be fair, when other scientists have tried to repeat Zeigarnik's exact experiment over the years, the results have been mixed. Some find the effect strongly, some barely at all. The size of it seems to shift with how much you cared about the task, how you were interrupted, who you are. But the core idea, that an unfinished thing holds a kind of tension a finished one doesn't, has proven stubbornly, almost annoyingly real. You can feel it in your own chest right now if you think of the one thing you've been putting off. So come back to that restaurant, the waiter carrying 6 dishes he never wrote down. You used to see a good memory. Now you see something else. A mind holding an open loop with perfect care, right up until the moment it's allowed to let go. Light while the work is open, empty the second it's done. Your mind works the same way. The difference is, the waiter gets to close his loops when the bill is paid. Yours stay open until you give them somewhere to rest. The things you finished today are already gone from your mind. It's the things you didn't finish that are reading this with you. So before you sleep tonight, ask yourself one question. Not what's left to do. What loops are you still carrying? And which ones could you finally set down? The more you learn about being human, the stranger it gets. Because after all, we're still the same old ape. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.